do to get the damage. Guild take the game, and it is perfectly executed. They did bide their time, and they are rewarded for it.
We were asking if other regions were going to step up. Well, it's a combination of talents from different regions who represent APAC South, who come out on top in our 4th game of this series. And there's a few moments you look back on there as the big moments for Guild to work their way towards the end zone. Some of the fights in and around that crevasse, the bubble fights down low, they managed to kind of avoid a lot of the carnage there and played their life, kept their shields pretty well. And then when they won that fight for the end game, or for the low ground, I should say, they were able to wrap those teams who were in and around that building. It's a fantastic performance from them, and you have to say, Phony, once again, is showing his value as an IGL.
Amazing decisions from him as well, because it was not only patience in the end game, but down in that section that you were talking about, when Meteor dropped behind Furia, I think there was an initial thought process of they had to take the fight in the bubble against Furia. That's what I was thinking. But then as soon as they saw Meteor dropping, they're saying, actually, let's just wait, allow those guys to have their little kerfuffle, and then we can push up, we can take more space, we have rampart walls to just keep people at bay, and they were able to then delete 1 or 2 as they arrived and slowly make their way to zone, and they went unseen, they went unheard until they needed to get involved, and boy did they get involved. 12 placement points, 10 kill points, 22 on the board for Guild as they surge their way up these leaderboards.
Solid performance as well from Envy. Some questions asked by me, I believe it was, at the start of...
I do remember you asking some questions.
I'm happy to own up to that. Answered quite rightly with a 2nd place finish and some good points on the board. Phony not only leading his team with the calls, but also leading the lobby with some kills as well. 7 for him, leading the lobby. Fantastic performance from him, and if there was ever, you feel like if there was ever anyone in the ALGS at the moment with a point to prove, probably Phony more than ever.
Yeah, you heard it in the interviews as well that he just wants to prove a point. He won playoffs and then is not on that team. Like, how does that feel? I cannot even imagine. He said even though he won, it didn't feel like he won because of that. And I think if anyone wants it more, I'd be surprised, because he is here with an absolute fire, an absolute determined mentality to win.
I do believe we call it a chip on the shoulder now.
We do, yeah.
It's chip on the shoulder, chip on the shoulder. Anyway, Phony showing that he can certainly still direct the troops exactly where they need to go in those end games. Some really, really good calls and execution from him once more. Some fantastic plays from him. You have to say the Guild have been really, really good in that game.
Yeah, and I think you can just see the difference of one solid game can really change how the series is going to look as well. I mean, the first 3, not looking so great, not looking so hot, down in the bottom half of the leaderboard, and then one, bam, they are suddenly right up into 6th place, and now they're in contention to compete for that top 5.
So another region stepping up here in the lobbies. We've got so many things to obviously conclude as we get through these games, but we've got a couple more to go through before we find the answers to those questions. We'll be back in just a few moments with another game.
Monitor of the Apex Legends Global Series.
Maybe 30 on it. It ends below. So
Shooting out wall. Shooting out wall.
I'm in them.
They're gonna fight each other. Chill.
Yep.
Let them fight each other.
They climb me up.
Picks maybe. There's a solo maybe down.
Solo
There's a solo on the
I'm
bottom.
here.
Big.
Bubble on me.
Arc one. Arc one.
We have bubble behind me if you need.
Arc another.
Wait, behind me.
Dead.
Dead.
Swinging. Packed another.
Killed. Ramp up.
Punching.
Last one. Last guy.
You're good. You got
80.
that.
Dead.
What the fuck? What the fuck were we doing that game?
God,
I don't even know how the fuck we won. What the fuck was that game?
That's amazing listening, to be honest, to come back from the break. I mean, a great win for Guild in that previous game, but Phony almost just surprises anyone that they managed to pull off the win in that one.
Well, I think that for good reason. They were dead to rights with the position that they found themselves in, but I think he has to give himself some credit of how he navigated it. Yes, it didn't seem likely, but he still persevered. He still was able to get through a very difficult situation. But that means we're done with World's Edge. Map 4 is over, and that means we are heading over to E-District. This is where it starts to get exciting in this series, because we still know that E-District is still a little bit of the unknown. It's the first time, remember, we've ever seen this map on LAN. Yes, we saw it in the BLGS, but online we know very different to LAN.
Yeah, it certainly is. We've seen some really hectic endgames. I mean, we kind of expected to see that, right, with the ability to play so many spots here on numerous POIs for E-District. And I'm interested to see how this lobby plays as well, because something that stood out to me from that last game was there seemed to be an element of aggression for some of those teams early on. They were a little bit willing to take fights in and around the edge. There were a couple of scuffles that happened over some beacons a little bit later on, and maybe it's not just the, I would say that endgame didn't allow a lot of teams, obviously, playable spots. But with that kind of style, I'm interested to see if E-District dictates how they play with so many spots available for the endgame, or if we're going to see something similar, where we're going to see some fights break out a little bit earlier. We were asked, who do we want to talk about a little bit by our wonderful producer in our ears, and you were straight on the mic. You were like, I want to talk about Crazy Raccoon. My question to you, Dan, is why?
Why?
Yeah, why?
Well, the fact that they were picking E-District as one of their priorities, not just today, but I think it's going to be something we see forward for them. They really want to focus on E-District. They have gone for the Lotus as their pick. It was their third pick. They were number 3 in that POI draft. And that means we need to see results. If they do not find these points, then there has to be the question of why are they picking so aggressively on E-District when there arguably are other maps that maybe you should be prioritizing? Is this a practice thing? Do they feel more confident? Are they playing, in their eyes, other POIs that are not going to be taken as priority by other teams? For example, Alliance do a similar thing. They leave Trident open because they don't feel like anyone is really going to take Trident because it's not as desirable on Storm Point. So we'll have to see whether that starts to play out successfully for Crazy Raccoon, who at the moment find themselves in 4th place in this series. So with arguably, in their eyes, the most desirable POI on this map for themselves, could they find themselves at number 1 after 6 matches?
I'm more than happy with your answer.
Thank you.
That's fantastic. Let's take a look at some of the POI drops that we are going to see here on E-District as well. So you at home, if you're watching for the first time, or you just didn't catch it essentially in the build-up to the event, this is where the teams are going to be dropping. You can see right at the north side there at the Lotus, that is Crazy Raccoon. That's who Stan's talking about. Right in the middle of the map, you've got VK Gaming over at Energy Back, and down at the bottom there, you can see E36 down at Shipyard Arcade, and everybody else in between.
And you can really see the difference there just with the numbers and the picks that came in. I mean, 3rd for Lotus, but everyone else, we don't even see an E-District pick till 22nd from anyone in this group. So no one else really in this group was thinking about E-District as the first map on their mind. Is that going to kind of bite them in the backside a little bit? Or because this is a far more balanced map with the POI, there is a lot more loot available to people, maybe they don't mind so much.
Yeah, I think that would be my theory if I had the opportunity. I gotta say, like, I would be prioritizing my picks on World's Edge and Storm Point, because E-District just feels a little bit more balanced when it comes to those POIs and the loot that you can play with. It's much easier to play the game if you've got the meds and the weapons to do so. So everyone else, they haven't got to worry too much about any contests. Meteor, however, look like they might be taking a little bit of a fight earlier on here.
I would have thought it's an Energy Bank and the surrounding areas where there is always seeming to be damage and fights that are breaking out, but Meteor maybe getting a little bit too confident onto VK, and they just have some warning shots to say, actually, no, leave us alone. We'd like to continue our looting path, please. It's so funny when you think about the history of Apex and people, these teams, they love their easy start to the game where they get to loot up comfortably and they don't have to take fights. And when someone disrupts that, it kind of pisses people off.
Yeah, understandably so. By the way, I've just decided to refer to Energy Bank as Kenny Long is Danger Zone from now on.
Danger Zone. I like that. Danger Zone.
I don't think we can sing anymore.
Yeah, any longer than
court,
that.
yeah. yeah, City Hall is where we're going. So Complexity are going to be pretty happy. The only problem for them is they might not be too happy because they do not have a ring console to play with. So it could be one of those awkward games here. Unless they start to see traffic arriving pretty soon, the likes of Guild, for example, then maybe Complexity are going to be biting at a potential move towards the Lotus where Crazy Raccoon are going. And I think that also might be influenced by Go Next Esports, who are also making their way here.
I think what's good is Complexity have regrouped here very fast. I was starting to get flashbacks from Ninjas in Pajamas and how they would move in the southwest, and they would be very much aggrieved when they were all split up and everyone arrived too quickly to their POI. Well, Complexity have moved away from their POI. We had a quick look at some of the meta stats so far. We have now got more than 5,500 walls being provided by Rampart, over 1,500 bubbles, and we're only in bloody day one, Mark.
Slightly warmer skyward dives than I thought we would see. I've got to be honest, coming into this LAN. I thought that was going to be 0 about a week ago, but hey, here we are.
It was only 1 or 2 teams in scrims, but I think as scrims went on and as the tournament came along, suddenly those 2 or 3 teams became 4 or 5, and it's not just been the one map of Valkyrie. Like, a lot of the teams who are playing Valkyrie were just testing it on one map, but now it's been on every map. They seem to be enjoying Valkyrie, and I think just having that ability to get out of dodge or to just dive your way into a final zone or certainly get into a better position has been helping them out. Nice shots initially as Fnatic going to be taking this fight, but hello, Dragons.
Dragons announced themselves to the fight. It's going to be evened up though as Valstera. Is he going to think about finisher here? No, he's going to go for the res after getting the more traditional way to finish things off, and he's going to have his teammate come back to support him in Yuka as well, and that bubble goes down. So Leica and Fnatic are not going to be punished, as it looks like Dragons also are going to be able to reset pretty comfortably. I kind of want to go to a map overhead to show people at home right now what we're talking about, because this is one of the more fascinating map overheads I've seen
ever,
with console information being available for teams. It is very interesting, and this is a great example of how if the team at the POI where Zone goes doesn't have ring console, it can influence what everybody else does who also might not have that information as well. Everybody thinks, who hasn't had console because of the traffic they've seen ahead of them, that this is going to the north, but quite simply it's not.
Well, not only that, we also have 3 Valkyries in the lobby, so we've got 3 people hitting survey beacons who are seeing where these people are, and they are then joining them up there. So it is just adding to the factor of people playing sardines, essentially, and arriving at somewhere where they don't need to be. And then when this does move down to City Hall and surrounding areas, they're all going to have to move through the same choke points, and it's going to be absolute carnage.
I mean, the good thing for Complexity is they didn't go too deep here. They didn't go too far in, which means that they can, of course, just kind of retreat ahead of all of this crazy traffic that's going down. For Stallions, it was an interesting one, because Stallions, I saw they arrived pretty late, and just trying to double check here where Stallions were dropping on the map, but they arrived pretty late to where this zone is going to be going over at City Hall. And I think they would have arrived there and gone, why is nobody here? Like, we can have any pick of building that we want. And, you know, I mean, they moved from Vibe Isle, which is without a doubt the best POI name that we do have, all the way over, and that's not a pro position. It's a long way they had to go. They probably had to go through Energy Bank. And to get there and arrive, then you start questioning yourself, like, why is no one here? This is where Zone is. Do they know something that we don't? It's a very confusing picture on the map right now.
I used to call my university halls Vibe Isle. Great place to be.
I'm going to save you here.
You don't need to.
And not follow up anymore.
Good, I appreciate it. We don't need to go into it.
You can tell me afterwards why.
I definitely will. Well, Fnatic, after their a little bit of a engagement earlier, have now lost Leica. Looks like they're going to have to run and try and get back up to a full 3 as well. It seems to be a lot of teams kind of taking fights or getting caught out on their rotation. Just one player a little bit slow, straggling behind, and then having to back off, and it is just slowing your rotation down even more because you have to go back and res.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite callouts when you're playing. It's like, you see a team in front, or you see a team that you have 3 shots on, and someone just says, shoot last guy.
Yeah.
And the poor last guy.
Often a Gibraltar as well.
I don't know what that is about it, but
he's slower.
And of course 36 in zone, but not comfortably. However, the slam is going to come in to give them the control of the roof. They we'll be able to just settle down a little bit here. This is happening, by the way, as far away from zone as you can possibly get at the moment. It's Furia who were on the other side of things. There's Gibraltar rolls going down, there's all sorts of nonsense going down, but neither team is essentially anywhere near each other at the moment. Finally, we do see a little bit of action going down, as I think Team Liquid Alienware were involved in a knock going down onto Disguise. Looks like both those teams are too far apart to really convert that knock into a kill, but Alliance, well, they've decided it's time for some action.
Well, that bubble came down just at the right time to protect them from the Arcstar as well. That could have been ugly had he got it off, but now unlucky with not going to be able to do the damage, but maybe the follow-up from Effect down to Hackis.
Hackis on his own, doesn't connect with the first, does connect with the second, and that's the one that really mattered. X and Y will go RIP as they fall to Alliance once more, but here comes a potential third party here. Envy trying to chase him down.
Oh my god, Hackis actually going to get away from this. That was incredible scarpering over the Newcastle walls, and maybe getting away with it as well. The chase is going to be on.
Yanya! I mean, where did Complexity come from here? All of a sudden, they were looking for the third party. They were looking to chase down one, and now Complexity have decided just to rip Yanya down, and the game plan has completely changed for Envy.
Yeah, I think Alliance might be able to get away with this, and all the people that were up towards Lotus finally got that realization of the zone moving away, but Complexity will come in as cleanup crew, finishing off not only the one squad, but also the remainder of Alliance that was down on the floor. But Hackis did escape, and Hackis is now going to try and potentially get his team back on his feet. But he's currently marching towards City Hall. Crazy Raccoon going to be the last team to remove themselves from Lotus. Everyone did escape pretty successfully, by the way. They all kind of looked at each other and went, we got it wrong.
Is that an agreement? Everyone just want to leave? Yeah, we won't talk about this. Prince, there you go. Fight going down in and around this bubble. And it's going to be Dragons eliminated, as Dexter will clutch up for them and should be able to reset while this bubble is still upward, certainly while they've got the support of this pillar for now. But looking back at the zone, like you say, I think Crazy Raccoon were kind of like subject to circumstance there. They were just looting, and then all of a sudden, they're at the back building of the Lotus. Everybody else is in front of them. It's like, well, we can't leave now. Like, there's no way we can get through this traffic. So it's been their first opportunity to really explore the rest of the map to try and get anywhere near that zone.
I would love to kind of ask them what they were thinking about when everyone just turned up at Lotus and then the zone moved completely away from them, as Envy have lost one. E36 will find a straggler. Yet again, one player, just not with the rest of the squad.
I think that was the respawn in Yanya that they took down as he fell from the sky. So E36 making sure that Yanya has to watch a little bit longer, and that the rest of Envy have to maybe go on another journey to try and get back in.
It's so frustrating as well when you do get frustrated. You do get put back into the map, but then you're instantly chased as Fnatic. Could this be the end of their run here in this game? Second place at the moment in this series.
Oh, it grabbed him just in the last second. They get the bubble down. Always res the Gibby first, because then they can get the bubble down, and somehow, wow, Fnatic survive, but by the barest of margins. Don't shake your head at me.
Barest of all margins. Fnatic now move over to the bus. Stallions were reluctant to push up on them, probably for good reason, because they look at where they currently reside and they're like, actually, we're in a very solid spot right now. We don't want to give this up, because if we do push up, get too aggressive, someone might whisk it away from us. Alliance back up to 3. They are very much going to be fighting the ring before they start to arrive.
Well, they've also got Furia right next to them. A little bit late to arrive too. I feel like everyone on the map at some point has to go through the Lotus.
Like a rite of passage.
For reasons I cannot give you. But Furia and Alliance are at the Lotus. They have completed their objective. And now Furia seem to want to take this fight.
This is going to be an ugly one. I don't like this at all.
I don't see how either team are winning it. I think leave each other alone and get to zone.
I think that's what Alliance want, but Furia maybe Keon? Yeah, he's fine. I hate it when it goes to this camera, by the way, and you're just like, are they going to survive? Have they healed quick enough? And the answer's going to be yes. Alliance are going to successfully get into the zone ahead of Furia, so now Furia need to be rethinking about how they want to proceed here. Do they just zip up into the sky? Because that's not going to be easy. I mean, because the zone is hitting for so much damage here, even a Valkyrie ult doesn't feel great.
Complexity are about to surprise Alliance, I think. And yes, indeed, there's those shots coming in, but luckily for Unlucky, he just managed to dip inside of the pizza shop, which is never a bad idea.
Just for a quick slice.
Don't really encourage anyone to do that at any opportunity. But it saves their life for now. The difference here is Complexity have the position, they have the zone, but they don't have the armor advantage. So this is a really interesting kind of situation where Complexity, I think, have recognized that and just backed up and said, you know what, Alliance, you can come into zone for now.
Elsewhere, Furia did jet up into the sky and will be heading right into Central Zone, as are GN right now. Go Next trying to find somewhere to call home, and they should be able to do so. And again, they're going to be Central Zone, so two teams redeploying and two teams successfully finding somewhere to play here.
This is what Newcastle can do, right? You find that kind of 90-degree hard surface, the natural cover that the map will provide you, and you get that Newcastle ultimate down. The castle wall just gives you 360 coverage, and as long as you cannot have those heads seen when the team's around, you're pretty much settled. Everything becomes a playable space. Now, inside of the zone, VK Gaming have been here for quite some time. 13th place in the overall standings between these two groups at the moment, with the real opportunity here to put some good points on the board with the position they have.
I think it's Snipedown who mentioned it on the desk this morning that he almost expected to see more Valkyrie on E-District because of the ability to kind of go over everything and not get caught in some of those chokes. I think we're witnessing it here. Some of these teams that have gone up into the air, and even if it's just with a redeploy, you can actually land yourself down, spike yourself in the middle of the zone, and then suddenly you find yourself with a real opportunity of winning the game.
Sneaky VP. Waiting for the opportunity. Lou just trying to overextend a little bit here, forces the bubble, which is always a good thing to do. VP do have the bubble available themselves, and now Lou decides it's time to throw it down. A Havoc and an Eva 8. And a Jabral roll for good measure as well. There's one back. Retaliation. As the slam comes in from Zach Mazer, they want this fight.
That's one way to introduce yourself to the fight as well. A big old slam, but VP, they've lost one. Blue can't even rescue it either, and Virtus Pro, despite the aggression, will not win that engagement, will go down, and they're going to have to watch from the death screen here.
Elsewhere, just looking for some other fights that are taking place. Meteor, who are on the southern side of this zone. You can see how far they have to go on the top left-hand side of your screen. Well, we'll have to wait to see what their play is, because Guild, who won that previous game, are winning this fight here against Team Liquid Alienware. Two members are down, one still remaining, who is just going to disengage completely from this fight, as Guild look to continue to kind of ride that little wave of momentum they found with that win in the previous game.
The slow start to the day from Liquid Alienware, a slow start to the series, seems to be continuing into match 5, which is not a good sign for them, as they do get eliminated in 16th spot, and they are actually in 16th position in the overalls as well. Not necessarily the performance we expected after their success in the BLGS and, of course, in Scrims 2. You can see where the zone is going to be heading. Go Next are going to be pretty much dead central to that, alongside the likes of Furia and Fnatic that you see on your screen, who are very much just putting up any wall they can to build a base here. And, you know, they have an escape route into the zone if they need it. Oh. Was that on purpose?
I do believe that Yuka may be asking, like, what are you doing?
He gets plucked out of the sky as well.
Did he land it? Did he stick the landing? That's the real question here. Are they going to be able to... Was he taken down? Did they get him back up? I didn't see it. The kill feed. Oh, like it's down now, though, and that might hurt Fnatic. Always watch your step. You never know when there's a gravity lift behind you.
Maybe there's still a chance for a res. That does open up an opportunity for some people to actually push up a little bit and take some space here, because that's going to be one less team focusing on them at the moment. But this is a horrible zone to try and move in if you're not already finding yourselves in them. And look where the zone's going to be finishing as well. Down in the kind of watery areas. The Skies are just biding their time here. And I guess a good time whilst they consider where they go. Let's jump into a listening and see what they have to say.
5 seconds to ring closing, okay?
This looks...
Your call, your call.
This is climbable, right?
Yeah, I think so. Looks it.
Yeah, okay. Just make sure bridge forgets about us, and then we're walking in, like, under bridge. I think I'll be walling off the left, and we have to kill right. I think that's our play.
I'm 20% on ult. 15-ish.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna have it.
Way to go, way to go, way to go.
Yeah, tell me.
Climb up. Oh, it is not.
It is, it is.
It is.
Okay.
On the left.
Come
Calm, very
come
composed, but you're going to have to make some plays now because you can see that they are on the quick side of zone. That is going to be closing behind them as Effect is left as the last hope here for Alliance.
And I think this is going to be the kill feed lighting up, by the way. 15 squads in the moment, zone closing in, and there is nowhere really to play for a lot of these teams. They're going to be forced into engagements. This is where you want to try and find some KP. Disguise, we had a listening with them, they had their plan of action, and now they start to march forward.
Yeah, this looks like a KP play for all of these teams. Supernova have gone Alliance, unfortunately. Effect could not keep them in the game much longer as we now find ourselves closing in towards double digits, or single digits in this lobby of teams left. Stallions, by the way, Abralelli has got a side angle here and he is ripping away at some shields.
He's a Stallion, baby! Complexity go down, 11 squads now remain. Stallions will stabilize and will be on that initial side of the southeast, but Disguised are close. By the way, there is so many teams congested in that one building. Connect, VK, Enter Force 36 and Fnatic all in that same area.
Crazy Raccoon and Dreamfire on the northern side though, maybe having a look at each other, but Stallions, a big fight win for them. Just remember, I think they got second place overall. It might have been third in that previous game. So find a little bit of form. And Albrelli back on the main stage. I mentioned it earlier for the first time in 2 years, which is a crazy statistic in itself for the amount of talent that that man has. He's looking very, very comfortable on the rampart so far in this tournament. Stallions playing this bridge position for now, but you can see that they're going to have to move very soon.
I think the two teams that we have to be thinking about here as well, Crazy Raccoon and Dreamfire, the only two on the northern side. Everyone else down in this madness on the south. Guild starting to chuck. Fnatic and Green Stego go down. 9 squads now remain.
Phony trying to stop this res coming in. Gonna get the re-knock. Crazy Raccoon have been eliminated on that north side, so the north side of this zone will belong to Dreamfire for now as Guild will continue their merry little dance that they've started in these last 2 games. Into the top 8, more KP for them. Guild are coming to life.
Stallions are actually making a rotation around on the eastern side as well. They'll be able to take a fight against Dreamfire. Winner of that could potentially win this game, but the bombardments are coming out to try and keep them at bay. Stallions sends it again. Here comes Al.
Here comes Sheila. And Albrelli, just poked through the mobile shield, and Stallions will be eliminated. It was a game-winning play from them. If they win that fight, they knew they might have been able to take the game. Unfortunately for them, just didn't go their way. Fury are gone. Guild eliminated. In the meantime, we are in to our top 5.
It's Dreamfire's game to lose. You have to feel here, unless all the other teams start to focus them. But at the moment, they're all looking at each other. Perhaps Disguised might be the best team to have a chance here, because they are not in this building.
VK up on the top still. E36 will be eliminated as well. They will be the next team to fall as we get to our final 4. VK Gaming as a duo. Still able to play this high ground for just a little bit of time here. Dreamfire, this is the team you were talking about, Dan. They cleared that northern side, and they still have the most space to play, as our observers will show you beautifully.
They are having a look over towards Disguise. They recognize that's the threat, but you are going to see the Dark Veil arrive just to allow Disguise to cross a little bit, get closer. They are trying to close the gap between themselves and Dreamfire, but now VK and GoNext both looking at them at the same time. And this is not going to be as easy as you might have thought for Dreamfire. They are really trying to avoid the gunfire, but it's going to be difficult.
We'll GoNext are in first place overall at the moment. Might be about to take first place in this game as well. Disguise have gone. Dreamfire have gone as well. And even though the castle wall will go down, it's just a duo for them to deal with. And GoNext again will win here in Sapporo as Amir claims another victory.
Beautifully played by GoNext as well, just on the lower side of that building, being able to avoid the gunfire initially, and actually almost directing traffic towards Dreamfire, just pointing out towards them, shoot these guys for us and we might win the game, and thus they did. So GoNext continue their dominance, continue to find points, and continue to own this series. And that is going to be great news for them and their chances of getting into the winner's bracket.
You have to wonder, you know, winning that game with only 1 more remaining in this set between the 2 teams, is that enough to solidify them onto first place, to claim this first place in BU versus D? It's been such an impressive day for Amir, and I'm going to keep talking about it because, well, I'm from Europe and I'm allowed to.
We have to take the little victories when we can. Oh, actually, it feels like a pretty big victory.
I don't flip like you.
There's been some
Dual
dark
passport
times.
holder where you're like, oh, I'm an A one day, maybe the next.
Hey, I mean, if I've got them, the Olympics is always a fun one. That's when you really can turn to USA.
I want all gold medals. Well done, you.
Well, here's a look at the heavy hitters as always. And it really was a game that could have gone either way. I think that northern side battle, it really opened up for Dreamfire, but even when you think the game might be in your hands, right, there is always something that can change that, and all it takes is a little bit of focus from other teams. You saw the Valkyrie missile started to arrive at their feet. I think they panicked a little bit. The bubble came down maybe too early, and that left them vulnerable to some of the other ultimates. But this is how the series results look after that game. Go Next have created that gap between themselves and Fnatic to 23 points, and you alluded to it. Maybe that's just enough to have them top these two groups, and that'll do them wonders of getting closer to the winners bracket as well.
Something to keep your eyes on, though, is how close the chasing pack was. Only a couple of points separating. It felt like second to like 17th, essentially, place by place. So still all to play for here in this game and in this final game, I would say, of this lobby, B versus D, and it sets us up beautifully to conclude what is going to be an amazing day of action here.
Yeah, it has been a brilliant day so far, and I think we're going to end on a bang as well, because E-District, I mean, that's the kind of end zones that we are provided with. Just pure entertainment, absolute chaos, madness around every single corner, but ultimately it's going to be the team that could just sometimes avoid all of that conflict and then perfectly bide their time at the end moment.
Yeah, it's been a very interesting lobby to watch it develop and how some of these games have been played. We're going to have to see if Go Next can close things out here. One more game to come today. We'll bring it to you just after this break. Do not go anywhere. Sweet, managing to just about jump into the void here, but he's going to run around this corner. I'm pretty sure the Estral Esports might be aware of it, but look at this. Somehow Sweet has managed to escape for now. Or is he just going to wait a few more seconds, trying to bait these two teams into fighting each other, and somehow Sweet's still alive with 6 squads remaining, but it's looking like the end. 1 HP. NRG still surviving. How are you doing this, Sweet?
This could be massive for NRG. This could be the difference between 4th place and top 2.
Sweet's still alive for now, though. He's going to jump into the void once more. 3 squads remaining. This is magic coming in from Sweet. The problem for him is a lack of meds now. He's going to run late into zone. He might be able to get top 2 if he can get this knock as well, but finally he will fall to the Nox gas. Sapporo, and a quick shout out to one of our wonderful sponsors who have been taking care of us here, and of course it's going to be the InZone M10S, which is proudly been chosen as the official monitor for the ALGS Year 4 Championship and Year 5 live events, showcasing its exceptional performance. InZone is a gaming gear brand from Sony, meticulously crafted for core gamers with a lineup of high quality gaming monitors and headset. The InZone M10S is ready to provide an exhilarating experience for the esports enthusiasts while giving you the competitive edge that you need. Let InZone elevate your gameplay to new heights. Dan, everyone in this lobby right now is playing on this monitor, and I've got to say, it is a beautiful thing.
And a few teams need to elevate themselves to new heights as well if they want to find a good amount of points here in this series and get themselves closer to that winners bracket. Otherwise, this is where we start to think about teams getting closer to that elimination bracket. And you don't really want to find yourself there.
It's a long road.
It is a long road, but actually,
very long road.
We have seen some teams in the past find success from the elimination bracket where they just need a bit of a kick up the backside sometimes.
Sometimes it's just more games under the belt. You find a little bit of rhythm, something clicks all of a sudden, and before you know it, you're winning every lobby. It's a weird thing sometimes in Apex Legends. You just need to find that groove, find that consistency, and sometimes that elimination bracket run, if you make it through to the finals, all of a sudden you feel pretty good about things. So getting into that final day, I always say it's an achievement in itself. It's such a tough task, especially with the amount of money that's on the line here at the ALGS Championships as well, with the prestige that is for the biggest event of the year, and also, you know, the first land that we've had here in Germany, in Japan as well, which is something to make history as well, right? You want to be the winner of the first APAC North land that we've had, the first APAC North Championship. You want to claim it as your own.
The biggest Apex event in history. I mean, you look at the amount of people, you look at the size of this stadium that we find ourselves in, the Sapporo Dome, and you really want to be a part of that history, the leader, as it were, of the history that's going to be unfolding. But a long old road to go, and we're only at Wednesday. It's a 5-day event. Just as a reminder, in case you forgot, 5-day event.
Well, for a second there, I thought I was in Germany, which kind of sums up where my jet lag's at.
Your mind is still in Germany, but your body is in Japan.
I don't know where my mind is right now, honestly, but it's best not to discuss that.
Well, Go Next, they find themselves at the very tippy top of this leaderboard in the series. Their second victory of the day coming on E-District, and they do it from Galleria as well, which, you know, they didn't have to move too far, but perhaps they were one of those squads that didn't get caught up in Lotus.
I was about to say, we need to talk about that a little bit, right? Because Apex Legends is a game of information at the start of the game, right? It's very rare that in these competitive lobbies, these hyper-competitive lobbies, that people really want to take fights early on because they know the risk that that involves. You lose a first fight, you go out with 0 points. Absolutely none whatsoever. You are going to take nothing away from that lobby. So everyone is playing for information, and if information isn't available in a ring console for you, you could so easily be influenced by the only information that's available for you, which is a visual spot of a team and the place that they're moving to. If you see someone going somewhere, there has to be a reason for it. And with the zone, that first zone where it was, nobody knew it was going back, you know, towards City Hall. Everyone is banking on somebody around them having a ring console at their POI, and playing off of that information just meant, like you say, and like we saw, you have this weird kind of exacerbated effect of everybody butterflying effect into the Lotus before all of a sudden everyone went, something's off. Something's not quite right here.
I do like the idea of them all looking at each other and being like, right, we're all going to look stupid if we fight here.
It's like the Homer Simpson backing into the hedge.
So let's just leave Lotus, we'll all leave each other, and we'll fight later when we arrive at the actual POI. But I think maybe Complexity, one of the leading factors there, because they didn't have a ring console, and they started to move very quickly to the northern side, and I think those rotating saw Complexity leaving, and we're like, okay, well, if they're leaving, then surely we're not going over here. And yeah, it was just an odd chain of events, but it was rectified very fast. Everyone got out pretty clean. Are we going to see something similar and equally as silly here in match 6? It's E-District once again. It is the last match of the day. And I can't wait, because E-District has provided so much entertainment already, and it's only day 1.
It's only a different pace to it, it feels, as well. Match 6, the final match, like you say, of today's action, the opening day here in Japan at the ALGS Championships, as the teams will descend from their dropships for the last time before a well-earned rest this evening. And looking at the zone, it looks like we might be experiencing off the zone 1. It's very brave to call it here. I'm going Humber. I'm going Humber.
You think of Humber Labs?
I'm going Humber.
And we have seen a couple of Humber Labs finishes so far today. A very small pool of data that we have. I mean,
by the way, if this goes
Humber,
I'm some sort of like genius. Please go Humber. We'll see the map over in a few seconds as we watch Go Next. By the way, what a performance for Go Next. We really need to be talking about this a little bit more. The EMEA team who, honestly, probably not talked about enough coming into this tournament, because there's just so many stories. It didn't go Humbert, by the way. There's so many stories for us to try and cover, one of which being the most threatening chicken on the planet, which is, of course, the mascot of Chicken Beak.
Why is he not dual-wielding them? That's the real question, but
pre-patch.
Stallions are going to be dead center of this zone that's pulling up towards Heights and between Heights and the stadium. We talked about reaching Heights. Well, Alliance, they are dropping over towards Heights, and they do have ring console as well. So one of the teams that we will keep an eye on is where they move to and how fast they move as well, where they believe this is going. Obviously, we do see often on E-District it pull towards Heights, but with the zone going, it could be a little bit further south. So it'll be a difficult one to commit to for Alliance, indeed.
Well, Stallions, who had the interesting kind of situation where they arrived at where they were told the ring was going, because they kind of picked up beacon information in that last game towards City Hall. This time over at Vibe Isle, they don't have a ring console, but they have a great potential position. And there are not a lot of teams moving their way. Everyone's wrapping kind of towards the north side of the map at the moment to base their information off, and look at this. They are leaving towards Stadium, probably thinking about hitting a ring console.
Go Next as well had information at Galleria, and they have moved very fast over towards Heights and actually have wedged themselves right between Alliance. They almost catch the straggler of Alliance, but they've been able to group back up. So 2 teams going to be over towards Heights, so that's a good indication of that's kind of the general direction it's pulling, and I think that's what we would all assume with a circle like this anyway. But that's great news for Go Next. If they want to be able to solidify even more points in this series, they've moved very quickly.
Well, somebody may have been listening outside of the headset. It's a joke, by the way. Obviously, no one would do that at my Humbert Labs call. And if they were, honestly, karma. Because this is a fight going down out of Humbert, where the zone is certainly not going X and Y, Dreamfire, and Green Stego, of course, pretty close to the vicinity of this fight as well as IHW, I Hate the World, with a couple of pop shots with that triple take going to connect. Dragons wrapping around the map themselves at the moment. This is down towards Shipyard Arcade, and it's E36 who they're trying to fight.
It's very interesting. All the teams seem to have kind of dispersed from the central area of the map, and everyone's moved to the edge to make their rotations. As Fnatic, the nades go out.
So many.
Are they good?
It's more of a demolition nade by the sounds of things. Not a huge amount of damage being done. You're seeing a slam coming out as well. Like having to play this one nice and slowly. This Gibraltar doesn't want to step forward because Yuka is there, and Dragons will be eliminated. The baiting perfect from Fnatic, and off the back of a little bit of initial damage done. Very comfortable reset for them, and a very comfortable 3 KP being picked up.
I really want to look back at the man cannon play from previous as well.
I don't think Fnatic will. I think you're in the wrong building for that.
Oh yeah, that's true. Maybe we can get a highlight just for me personally. But Enterforce 36 were on the other side of that fight, did not push up onto Fnatic. And Fnatic now find themselves kind of between Virtus Pro and Enterforce 36 on their rotation, but it's probably going to be a shadowing effect where everyone moves along that southern side. As I said, most people have moved onto the edge. The two teams that haven't and have found themselves more central, I think this is mainly, by the way, because people don't want to rotate through Energy Bank, because a lot of people do not enjoy it and they find it very unsuccessful because often you get caught in those chokes. Well, Guild and Meteor are the only two teams. They had a little bit of a situation where they started to shoot one another, but Guild have thought better of it and said, actually, if that's the only team we're seeing right now, maybe it's time we move and take advantage of lack of teams in this area.
Yeah, Guild are making an interesting play here towards Galleria as we take a look at Team Liquid Alienware versus Furia on our feed, because I think they're going to try and play for late beacon information over at Galleria and then make their play based off of that. They currently have current information, so I think they're going to wait for that ring close and maybe play for next as well, because that's going to give them a little indication if they're going to get one of those kind of classical E-District surprise zone pools, so to speak, where it might pull out a little bit from heights where a lot of teams are already set up. Liquid Alienware, though, 17th overall in 5 games. It's not what we expected to see from the North American BLGS champs.
I don't want to say it's because of me, but again, that's my prediction going down the train.
You want me to say it?
Please.
Because of you.
There's genuinely a curse today, I feel. Cloud9, Falcons, Team Liquid, all of them.
You should join what I do.
Just don't do predictions.
Don't do predictions.
I do feel bad. I feel like I have a
solution
weird power.
I can fix that.
Just don't do them. I don't know if I'm allowed. I get forced. I don't know how you've managed to get out of it.
Wait, I've actually just exposed myself
Yeah.
very badly here. I'd love to, I just never get asked.
Oh, that's what it is it?
Yeah.
I can change that. I can fix that for you if you want. I remember there being an onset curse once upon a time, and maybe that's why you don't.
That's a long time ago.
Well, Fnatic, this southern rotation that I was mentioning, now they have to look at another team. It's Virtus Pro. They've done a lot of damage, and there's the knock, and Fnatic now they're going to send it.
Slayer gets picked off. And it looks like they're going to try and escape using that Dark Veil from the Catalyst here, VP. Interesting to see if they did get the res, or if it's just going to be the 2 players who are going to be scarpering away. It is going to be just the 2. As you can see, Fnatic are hunting them down at the moment, trying to pick up those final pieces, but Supernova are wrapping through the storm towards where they are as well. So this is a very interesting position they find themselves in.
Yeah, Supernova now shooting Fnatic in the back as well. So Virtus Pro, there is a potential chance for them to turn around and join in on the damage. But it looks like they are able to escape, and Fnatic, though, do not want them to. They are still hunting, as Virtus Pro are doing a full-on loop right now, and they're going to get back to where they previously were, but I don't think it's going to work out, at least not for that one. Zach Mazer goes down. Still 1 alive, though, to VP.
I do believe the term hot pursuit could be used there. Fnatic not letting anyone get away that can get away. And now they will recollect themselves up on that bridge that you can see in front of you, and what was maybe a slight worry for them in Supernova. Now they can engage them a little bit more comfortably. By the way, VP not dead at the moment. VP still have 1 alive, and they're heading into Viaduct at the moment, and there is going to be an opportunity to craft a banner and a beacon.
A banner, a beacon, and back in the game. Whilst Fnatic...
Bacon roll.
Bacon!
That's all right.
Well, Fnatic and Supernova looks like it's going to come to an end. Fnatic don't want to take that anymore, and maybe they're thinking, all right, well, we should start to look to move towards this zone. Speaking of zone, by the way, it has moved and continued to transition up towards heights, so the early movers are rewarded for arriving there early. But Go Next were the first team we did see really prioritize that zone. It's late. Give me a break.
Yeah, give us a little bit of wiggle room here, everybody.
I mean, and not just for us. We have to remember, like, very taxing on some of the players. Been playing 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. It is a bit of a slog, some of these group stage days, so we speak about being able to really power through these days and find your consistency and find your form. Really have to stay well fed, well hydrated as well.
Fnatic trying to chase down Meteor at the moment outside of Energy Bank, which is exactly what you can see on the overhead. Meteor have a little bit of a distance, a gap on them at the moment, and I wonder if Fnatic are trying to really not give away their position and think about mirroring what Meteor are going to do. There's a couple of Evo Harvesters available for them to hit on their way through as well. Fnatic might be thinking about setting up the ambush here, or one thing we don't, of course, know is if Meteor know about them being behind them. Well, they certainly do now, as the shots will ring true.
Meteor are one of those teams that have been running the Valkyrie, so do have that escape card if they're able to do so. Virtus Pro back up to a full 3 as well, by the way, and they're going to be rotating in from that southwest side, but they are very far behind, so they're not even a part of this engagement that you're seeing on your screen. Meteor still running, by the way, and they are split. They need to regroup. If they are going to utilize the Valkyrie ultimate, they have to get together on that northern side of Energy Bank, as it looks like Fnatic will now leave them.
Yeah, by getting into the center of Energy Bank, they essentially have the high ground now over Fnatic as well. That's why you see Fnatic just change their tune a little bit here. They're going to try and cross and go slightly more directly towards the zone. Also, zone is closing, so both teams now essentially parallel to the edge of that zone, running in towards the safety, which will be just kind of towards the choke of the big wall, and elsewhere you can see at Stadium, Furia might be being wrapped here by Supernova, who are having to expend a huge amount of health heals just to get here.
Yeah, it might be a gift here at Stadium for Furia, actually. They catch wind of where Supernova are arriving. We've been kind of following the story of all these teams on the south because they were the only 4 teams not in zone, but they almost all of them have found themselves in zone bar Virtus Pro now, and we get to check in with them and their rotation. At one point, all of these teams were kind of scrapping with one another, but somehow they're all alive, as that zone is a big shift. We'll check in with that a little bit later, as Disguised now are getting involved, and it's actually going to be Disguised versus Furia, and that will allow Supernova to just pass these teams and maybe rotate ahead of them.
And one thinking about next hitting that console was his Straight Flame picking up the kill onto Ken. The knock does come through, but not the confirmation, not the elimination that they're looking for at the moment. There's a couple of things I want to talk about in a few seconds that might have thrown a few teams off as well. One, Mythic Bin, where it was spawning, and the fact that it's pulled back towards where that Mythic Bin did spawn. So a lot of teams would have thought, hey, they're usually spawning away from where the zone is going. Not this time around. And for the likes of Go Next, Stallions, Guild, Envy, Alliance, if you thought it was going heights, they're going to have to change their tune a little bit here, as is Keon, from dealing damage to staying alive.
A lot of those teams won't know that zone has shifted yet, by the way, because they won't have that information. They'll find it a little bit later as Furia do get the initial knock onto Strafing Flame. Any response? Yes, there is. It's a 1-for-1.
Okay, going to be able to not only res, but Furia will now be eliminated, but here comes Supernova. And they will clean things up here. They were the third party. They were the team that was waiting in the wings to clean up those pieces, and clean them up very comfortably they did. Stadium belongs to them, and with that, there's a beacon for them to play with too.
And actually, that ring console is going to do them wonders, because they're going to get this information before the 10 teams you mentioned before that are over towards heights, because the zone has shifted back towards the west. And the only team that is, or the only teams on that area, enter Force 36, Complexity, and now Virtus Pro, the team that were almost down and out earlier. They went on a merry-go-round chase as they tried to avoid as the Benny Hill music was playing, but now they are back in one of the better positions as they are going to be in the next zone.
Yeah, Virtus Pro all of a sudden have Godspot, which is crazy to think about what their journey has been towards this position. We also saw Alliance there taking to the skies to find themselves inside of the next zone. So you're probably wondering, how do they know about that? Well, look what's at the top of the building of heights that they were holding, a ring console. So they would have been able to hit that as soon as they've seen it, they've left. And I wonder if other teams around who saw that console on the map and saw what Alliance did are all of a sudden starting to panic and think, well, there's a reason that Alliance are left. We're going to have to leave too.
Well, they're all going to find out right about now, as that zone will shift for those who did not have Ring Console, and they will get the bad news that they are going to have to move all the way west. And then when they do, it's actually going to be on the eastern side of this circle as well, so Complexity in a really good spot. Alliance have found themselves in a fantastic one as well, but Virtus Pro, who had moved in from that southwest, are going to continue to have to move a little bit further north.
Kind of a similar feel when you're looking at the disparity of teams across the map at the moment to the World's Edge game that we saw a little bit earlier. A lot of teams stacked up on that eastern side. And the battle for the west might be the team who wins things. Crazy Raccoon versus Guild at the moment, and this is looking very, very one-sided. And one-sided indeed it will be. Crazy Raccoon will take them down as we find ourselves now with 16 squads alive.
I'll go next though. They started to get involved. Nihake has very much full sent it, and maybe a little bit too soon, as Go Next now are going to be left as a 2, and they will not be able to engage here. That was a gift to Crazy Raccoon. Supernova also eliminated in the kill feed, and there are like 4 teams fighting here on the southeast, by the way, but also commotion on the northwest. Liquid Alienware, Meteor, Fnatic, all in the same kind of area.
Well, Liquid Alienware need a game here. I mentioned how tight it is outside of Go Next. You kind of have the gap at the top of the leaderboard. This Valkyrie's got to be very careful. Ace will be ripped from the skies. Didn't even get to really get the Jets going at that point.
Well, Liquid Anywhere still only a 2 though, but Sheila makes it 2.5. And as you mentioned, they really need something. Good Go Next, who did lose one a little bit earlier, thankfully. With the current meta, you are able to get back up very quickly indeed. So we lost another squad down to now 14 teams, as this zone is going to begin to force all these squads together. Team Liquid have just lost another. Meteor also lose one as well. They are battling tooth and nail on this northern side. Fnatic starting to get involved.
Go Next, who are in first place at the moment, and making them move towards the zone. Liquid Alienware eliminated. Let's jump into the comms here with Go Next and see what the play is.
In between, come. Down here, come, guys, on me.
I ulted towards the back. I need to ult towards the back.
Do. If you crouch, these guys cannot see us, okay?
Which
you
one?
need to crouch. Those, they are there, don't see them. We need to just chill.
Hello, they're picking.
Just guys, I need cells, I have nothing, boys. Okay, thank
that.
you. I'll go.
They're breaking.
Move left, on me, complete safe, Nice, on Zidane good, stay chill.
We need to do something.
We're gonna need to make a play, we need to swing bottom.
Bottom,
What?
you sure?
I think we swing bottom, yeah, we do.
Bottom is tough.
Go from left, come. Here, come. Just come to me. I'm gonna do the G bubble. I did the G bubble. Here.
Level 2.
Can you climb up on me, boys? Come, they're coming, boys. It's good. On me, boys.
I'm on you.
Holy fuck.
Good job. Crazy, come. It's ZG.
Nice.
There's people bottom there, Yarka. So we can pull the door. How much are the Did you took the action?
You cannot fall inside. Luxaco cannot fall inside.
I didn't. I couldn't take it.
I'm using Ultex Cell. Do you want it to
Shouldn't you give him? I have it on 50.
Okay. 15 or 50?
50%.
I'll take.
I need it. So we have it for... We're gonna get needed, 100%.
But you cannot put it inside.
Yeah.
I did it.
This team is aiming at us with Vampire.
You should follow. You should.
What a beautiful rotation. You saw the intensity of the call. Like, this building's free. We can make a crazy rotate here, and it's exactly what they do. Go Next inside in the next zone, as now we start to focus on the teams that aren't. E36 have just taken to the sky. They are going to fall in towards that zone. On the southern side, you've got Grain Stego and you've got VK Gaming trying to force their way into zone. Envy as a solo still alive in this game as well.
VK hunting at the moment, looking for that other squad, but they were able to just get around. Envy have just been eliminated. Fnatic now in a fight as well, and should be able to get a lot of damage here, and will do so. Yuka is shredding, and it's Complexity versus Fnatic. Woo! We've seen that so much today, but again, Fnatic come out on top.
Be so careful this zone behind them though. You saw a little touch from that zone, and 2 players would have been on their back. VK Gaming now on the southern side of this zone will be safe. And now we're going to be aware of a team just below them underneath that bridge as well, just hunting down there like an ogre.
You really don't want to cross one of them at the wrong time. Just going back briefly, by the way, to that play we saw from Go Next. the ability to change your plan so quickly as an IGL, from fighting, from swinging, to suddenly actually seeing an opening and taking advantage of it. And now GoNext give themselves a chance again to potentially win this game. But you can see where the circle's going to be heading. It is not going to be comfortable for any of these teams right now. No one is in arguably a good spot. Everyone has to work so hard to get out of their current position.
One team who's had some very good Game 6 performances today is the hometown heroes, Fnatic, and they are involved once again in this Game 6, right towards those final moments. 10 squads remaining. The lobby has been scythed in half from what we started with, as Alliance in 6th place in the overalls now move into that top 9, as Meteor will be the next to fall.
9 squads remain. Everyone just kind of peppering one another at the moment, doing a little bit of damage of anyone who exposes themselves a little bit too much. But I think it's going to be the zone that's really going to dictate the pace of this game now. Suddenly, though, Enter Force 36 began to show us what we've seen once before, diving from the heavens.
Good damage coming in. Zinev's going to be last alive here, and they do win that fight. A couple of armors going to be dropped out of the box. If they can get the res off, it means they've got the HP to play with when they land. Fnatic still alive at the top of your screen, as the middle bridge will be held by Crazy Raccoon. It looks like Alliance have just been evicted from one of those little shops they were playing as well, as Stallions were down below them.
Alliance one of the first to move. Still have Kimmy Bombardment as well to play with. Crazy Raccoon that you mentioned now posturing up against Fnatic here, but looks like the Dark Veil could separate them, and that does create an opening to move.
The Dark Veil completely splits the zone in half and essentially helps out both of the teams.
That's just blind fire through the Dark Veil, hoping for the best.
Fnatic now trying to navigate their way through the Gibraltar roll that is falling from the skies. The mobile shield's going to be good enough to keep them healthy enough to potentially reset here, but they're getting swung. And while they're getting swung, numerous teams start to focus in on them as Lycan tries to get away with that Newcastle wall.
Enter Force 36, by the way, avoiding all of this on the eastern side. They have a real opportunity. GoNext down to 1. They'll be eliminated. 6 squads now remain, but Alliance are fighting right in the dead center here.
And it's Alliance on blue shields who are watching all of this unfold in front of them. They've got Stallions above them. Albralele has just spotted them out, as well as the Sheila starts to pick up speed once more. Crazy Raccoon, they're gone. 4 squads remain.
Keep an eye on E36. They are still down. They are still in an area no one else can see them right now, avoiding all of this gunfire, and they are biding their time. This is similar to what we saw from GG earlier.
The damage that came in from Lou there for VP has done so much, but now we find ourselves with End of Force 36 continuing their merry way towards a winning moment in the final game today. E36 closed the day out here on day 1 with another victory.
What a game it was from Enter Force 36. And it was all the move onto the east side as well. Again, I mentioned it earlier when we were watching GoNext. As an IGL, when you see one of those openings, when you see one of those pockets where you can just get into an amount of space where you can avoid the gunfire, and you can then have that moment to breathe, to consider, to actually think about how you want to play that final circle. And Enter Force 36 did just that. Even though traditionally you'd think, you know, oh, high ground, it's so important, but how many times today have we seen teams finding the low ground, avoiding the sight lines, but then engaging after all the damage has been done by other teams? But it was the initial drop from Enter Force 36. They full sent the team that was below them, which gave them that opening in the first place. 13 kills, 25 points on the board. E36 really putting on a show.
And again, in second place, just in behind was Stallions. Some really strong performances from Stallions in that final set of games that we've seen for today. Alliance up there, once again, not the high KP game that they were looking for, but some good placement points along the way. It was enough, however, as we look at the series results here between groups B and D, for GoNext, the EMEA team, to take home first place. 66 points overall for them, and a great, about almost as good a split as you could ask for when it comes to KP and placement.
E36 do put themselves ahead of Fnatic, though, in second with that jump up from that performance. And placement points, I think, is the key issue there for the likes of Fnatic and Crazy Raccoon. Plenty of kills, but just not getting into those final moments. But I think Fnatic maybe feel like they had already done enough earlier today with an incredible early start to today's performance, and they follow up with a solid 52 points as well. We will most likely be seeing Fnatic in the winners bracket, but of course we'll allow things to play out across the next day.
Yeah, just looking at the other side of things as well, there's a couple of teams that you have to highlight as maybe feeling a little bit disappointed after that game and after that series we just saw. Envy, you're looking at right there. A lot of talk about them coming into today. Furia, a little bit of a weird set for them. They just seem to be getting caught out quite a lot and having to reset. And then you're looking at, you know, Liquid Alienware again, who left it late. Let's not remember to qualify for the finals at the Split 2 playoffs, the BLGS champions. Well, not looking like they're in championship form right now, but it's only day one, of course. So much more Apex left to play.
Only day one, but only one more series for them to try and get things back on the board, to be honest. Otherwise, they might find themselves in the elimination bracket. But this is the overall scoreboard. This is all of the group stages so far accumulated to find Alliance on top. 120 points, followed very closely by Hometown Heroes Fnatic on 117. Very likely, if not definite, that we will be seeing those two teams in the winners bracket.
Yeah, not a great set in the last one that we saw from Fury or Envy, but they got enough points on the board a little bit earlier today to feel very comfortable inside of that top 10. Elsewhere, you're looking a little bit further down. 11th place Stallions, I think they'll be very happy with how the games have gone for them today. The surprise is maybe on this page that we see in front of ourselves right now. You're looking at Team Falcons down in 29th. You're looking at the likes of LG down in 33rd.
Worth noting, of course, that some of these teams have only played one series, other than the two series that have been played by a lot who are in that top 20. So even though, yes, okay, it's not been the best of days so far for some of them, they will have a chance to rectify that when they play tomorrow morning to try and chase that leading pack.
Right down at the bottom, FaZe Clan. They had a couple of I was looking at their fights a little bit earlier, and it felt like it was a little bit of a lack of confidence in some of those fights that they were taking, but how quickly that can certainly change when you just have that one big game to get you rolling. But some of the takeaways from you today, Dan, I mean, it's been a fantastic day, number one. Of course, we've got 4 more days of action to come before we get to our match point finals. I mean, what's some of your takeaways?
Some of my takeaways have just been an amazing first day. I think there's a lot of nerves at the moment, but I think that people are starting to really warm up to LAN, and tomorrow is just going to be even better.
It certainly is indeed, and we're going to send it back to the desk now because the games are done to break it down and what we've seen so far today, and of course, get you excited for tomorrow as well.
All right, thanks, guys. Congratulations on a great cast and a great day. We are back to close it out. What a moment it has been. Just welcoming everyone in the crowd, all of the desks again, Jayhawk, Zephyr, Lace, I'm Rain Day, to kind of set the tone for what we've experienced, but also look ahead to tomorrow, which should be an even more exciting day. We mentioned those scoreboards. Yes, a lot of those teams, they've played twice. Few teams, though, 100 Thieves, you look at TSM, North American kind of hopefuls. They only played once. They're still in the top 20. That's a great sign for things to come. Tomorrow will really give us a glimpse as to who is going to be joining us in those winners brackets and who's going to be close to elimination come Friday.
Absolutely, and some of those teams that started off really strong today, they get the benefit, too, of now seeing some of maybe the more chaotic gameplay that we just watched. They get to go back to the drawing board and say, how do we adjust to this going into tomorrow, where teams might be a little more desperate because this could be maybe only our second or third set where we're kind of already locked in, but
yeah,
they need to do something a lot bigger, so they might be playing a little bit of a different way. And so the fact that they were able to witness that could be beneficial.
You know, this is a race in so many different ways where you're trying to race not only with your own team on how to figure out what's going to work, but you're sometimes just trying to race to get kills. It's as simple as that. Hit shots, hit bullets, and then get kills. That's why we wanted to introduce a very clear new segment here, our Sony in-zone kill leader race. And Zeph, we get a chance to take a look at this, break down some of what we're seeing here in terms of our weapons. It kind of made sense. Yeah, the Mastiff, it's up there.
It's a fantastic selection for anyone when we talk about the current shotgun meta. I'm personally surprised when we talk about the PK, but it has some favor across the board, especially more when we talk about international representation. Yes. Of course, you do see the implication with both that G7 Scout and, of course, Nemesis down there at the bottom. Due to that hop-up and such an advantage it provides, of course, when we talk about the expenditure of those ultimates, getting that percentage back and being an absolute boon to some of these really chaotic end zones where you need to have that utility constantly up.
And you know, that Mastiff or the Nemesis or the Scout or whatever it is, sometimes it doesn't matter what's in the hands of Effect, who was our kill leader today. So good, so deadly. Been obviously a part of Alliance's core identity, and just so happy to have him back here on this big stage.
Absolutely, and it's one of the better representations that we've gotten to see from this roster in terms of the quality of effect. I know sometimes we come to these lands and it can be a bit shaken getting into that flow, and while they do come out really on top of the group stage, it's usually something that tends to build up over the course of some really incredible group play throughout our first 2 days. This is one of the first times I really have seen effect start off on one of the best foots that we've ever gotten to see here, and it's maybe something that'll potentially continue for Alliance.
Yeah, a huge part about his story, Lace, as it's continued, is he's performed up until a certain moment, and then that kind of became not his story anymore. He got over that hump. This is another opportunity to see, where is he with it? It clearly in form today, and so is Alliance. In terms of favorites, and you look at the teams, I mean, they're top of the leaderboard. They are #1 so far after day 1.
Yeah, I know we've been talking about it all day, just everything coming up, Alliance, but it was actually really close in that last game. Fnatic had the opportunity to actually take over them with that. They had about 12 points there. If they just kept alive for one more moment, they might have been at the top of the leaderboard, but you know what? Not enough for Alliance.
Well, big congratulations for them. Not only are they at the top of the leaderboard, but Effect is your kill leader for our Sony in-zone leaderboard after day 1. We'll see who gets it after day 2, so we'll keep tabs on that throughout of all of it. Also, we had some great moments today, and so we want to give you a little segment where we highlight those favorite moments with the help of Alienware, Lace. And, I took the L off of that. It could have been Laces. It's Aces, Alienware Aces. This is that first one where Fnatic get the very first win in APAC North soil for the very first game of LAN. How amazing was that?
It was in the script. No, it was, it was electrifying having that win, though. There was no script, guys. It's so fine. But, just to hear the crowd sort of roar for, their home team, but they deserved it so much.
This is a second one right here, another one of our plays for Alienware Aces. Sometimes not always a good idea to take a Trident. That orange bubble, it protects you, but it does kind of also look like shoot me bulb, right?
That one was a little painful to see because we were watching it, we were going, oh, what are we doing? And then they tried to go back and it was too late.
And this final one here, Ben, it just doesn't get any better than that. Kind of a capstone to what had been happening all day. Yuka F swings with the Kraber, no scope, and then closes out their third win of the day.
He did miss a few at the start.
No. Mechanical legend. Mechanical legend.
Talk
about the hits.
When it counted, he was there, okay? I did 3 misses, but then the hip fire connected, so just want to point that out.
You hit the one that mattered.
Yeah, exactly.
And they got what they needed to. Second place, only 3 points behind. Maybe a couple of those Kraber shots would have done differently, but congrats on taking 2 out of our 3 Alienware Aces plays of the day. A lot of moments happened, and I think at the end of a tournament like this, you'll look back and some of these will stick in your mind. Some will just be fun moments of the day. But for you, what you're carrying forward into tomorrow, I'll go down the line to close out, Jayhawk. What stood kind of the test of this entire day from morning, afternoon to evening as to something that was prevalent, as a theme that we're starting to see here in Sapporo?
Ultimately, I think this is where a lot of our competitors' mentality is going to be tested because there are certain teams who maybe didn't have the greatest days that they wanted to, but going into tomorrow, even if you don't do enough to qualify for maybe the winner's bracket, which is what you're aiming for, if you can at least start to build some momentum and find sort of the way that you're going to approach these games, then you can recover. We've seen teams go into losers round 2 and still make it to the finals and perform, and so all hope is not lost. And even for some teams that maybe have had a bad day, it might have only been one set, so you go into tomorrow new, refreshed, and you pop off.
And I think, Zeph, I don't know if you echo those sentiments. This has been a variety of different things you could look at. There's teams you could say didn't perform. There are teams that you could equally look at as saying, wow, they already look like it's match point finals and they're coming to play.
And it's going to be super interesting because ultimately this is that opportunity going into day 2 where some teams, they get to figure out the meta a little bit more here and get more comfortable before we get towards that match point, because especially when we were talking earlier today with Snipe, I mean, think about these end games. Getting into the top 5, that seems to be the easy part. Figuring out how to absolutely win the rest of the lobby, especially when you got to find that win on Sunday, that's going to be the catalyst that these teams who are now ahead on the scoreline get to take advantage of and use the extra time to their advantage.
And speaking of catalyst, we've seen Catalyst, Newcastle, Rampart. Can I interest you in a Gibraltar? We know what the meta is, Lace. So from your perspective heading into tomorrow, what's going to be the thing that these teams need to do to separate themselves?
Look, it's following the meta is quite easy, but, you know, like we talk with Zach or some of the Valkyries that are sort of coming in, you know, people are sort of trying to change that little bit. But the thing is that I feel like it will stick tomorrow. And what we find is a lot of teams are starting out very slowly. And then, like you guys said, kind of having that snowball effect later on in the matches. But, you know, like you said, there's still many more games to go, elimination bracket, winners bracket, so it's kind of just, I'm not saying they're trying things out, they probably should have done that in scrims, but, you know, they are still trying to go test to different teams and swap the meta slightly to get that edge.
Yeah, and I think that is going to be a question mark. Do you look at the little moments of Virtus Pro and Zach Mazer having some of the caustic come through and people saying this could work, the Valkyries on E-District, the rotation, knowing how fast you need to move. Is it going to be something where it's tried and true? We just need to wait, be a little bit more disciplined on how we throw those Newcastle walls down, because we keep getting burned in the situations where someone is being a little bit more patient than us. All of those are going to be questions that these players will have a few hours tonight in Japan to think about and show up tomorrow, hopefully with the right answers. And we hope you'll show up as well, as we should let you know when that is. So the schedule, as it kicked off today, we had 3 series. We will continue our group stage and have 3 more series tomorrow. It will be Group A's turn and Group C's turn to go for the double headers. A versus C, B versus C in the afternoon, and then A versus D afterwards. We've got some amazing content for you as well tomorrow. Let's take a look at a preview of what we've got in store.
When you're walking out on the stage to go like lift that trophy with your teammates, nothing really compares to that. Nothing like sets you up for like the overwhelming emotion that's gonna hit you.
How do I know if I'm saying it right?
What does it mean?
How do I say right there?
What does it mean? Yeah. Oh.
Oh.
Yes.
What?
Same me.
You guys are going to love that one. And we certainly had a lot of content being done for this event, and we'll unveil most of that throughout these next couple of days. So what a night. What a morning, what an afternoon. Guys, thanks so much on the desk. Jayhawk, Zephyr, and Lace closing it out one more time. I've been your host, Rain-Day. From everyone here at Daiwa House and all of you in Japan and watching from home, good night from Sapporo. We'll see you tomorrow for day 2.
To be another huge win for Fnatic! Come in, swoop in, clean up, and claim game 3. You use your fists. Anything you can do to get the damage. Kill, take the game. Let's go!
Again! We'll win here in Sapporo. Force 36 continuing their merry way towards a winning moment in the to date.